that better. You knew it was president.
And they're just like, okay, ignore it. But now,
Sure. So it's lobbying. That's actually very State Department.
yeah,
That's
so
what
you're
it's
figuring out
state.
here, like,
Well, when I came back from Germany was my first assignment in lieutenant. I came back and I still needed for 2 years time and other stuff. So I did that. I went to the captain's course. They gave me 2 choices. They said career. I was like, I just got married. I think my wife would kill me if I left her. You know, my new wife. So I said, for good. Okay, first job. So what? I never went to Korea, but what unit? Was that second idea they still have? Yeah. The big Indian did, that's right. You can never tell. That was confusing 40 years ago. Well, first ID was because they would have forward brigade in Germany, maybe even the division, no, the division headquarters I think was back in Raleigh, but they had a forward deployed because I would see Big Red 1 guys, right?
Yeah.
Big Red 1, and I'd be like, hey, you guys are here, overstationed here. I thought you're at Raleigh. You got a brigade here.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the division's back in Raleigh.
Used to be 3 grades those guys that hold go to Yeah, yeah.
That's my battle.
Oh, man. That battle.
You know, McMaster, you have to
Let's try this. Okay, it works. Good morning, Rotarians. I guess it's afternoon. Good afternoon, Rotarians. Glad to see you guys here today. This is November, what is this, 13th? That's crazy that we're 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving, which we will not meet on Thanksgiving. But welcome today. We're going to take a moment of silence to reflect or pray. Okay. Our flag salute today will be led by Brandy Phillips and our four-way test by Corey Doggett. Okay, you can be seated. Okay, we have our recording going for our YouTube channel, which you can watch at Norman Rotary Club if you would like to do that. We also have several guests in the room today. Kristen, you have a guest.
Hey everybody, I brought Anna with me. This is her first day as the district executive for Big TP District with the Scouts. So you guys know I served sooner, and she is now in training to serve Big TP just north of us. But I'll let her introduce herself a little bit more. After I do one thing, I was hoping you'll all would humor me. If you have had any connection to Scouting whatsoever, you've been a donor, a parent of a Scout, you were in Scouts yourself, any connection, will you show her the impact of Scouting just in this room? Okay, and then if you're an Eagle Scout, keep your hand up. I just want her to see. So it's really exciting things that are happening in Rotary and Scouts. So it's all connected. But here's Anna.
Hi, thank you so much, Kristen, for inviting me, and thank you so much, Reed, for this time to gather together. I'm very excited. This is my first time, guys, so I don't know what I'm doing. My name is Anna. I'm from Bolivia, and I'm very excited to serve the community, especially the kids, and offer them some leadership skills and connections to each other. So,
Rebecca has a guest.
So this is my little brother, Michael Hubler. He's with First Liberty Bank, and he wanted to know what Rotary is about, so that's why I brought him.
We also have a guest, he is a guest of Liz Barfield, who is not here today, but we are glad that you are. So would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, let's thank you for the time. My name is Baljeet Singh, and I'm an OU Sooner for life. I went to school here in 87 to 1990, and I just moved back to Norman 3 years ago. I've always wondered about Rotary, and Liz has always been asking me to come, so here I am. Thank you for having me.
Any other guests? No, except we have a student of the month.
Okay, one more week, we have Macy Febrick with us from Norman High School. So glad you're here today. Today, all of you don't know what we do to select these students, but there's a likely application. But the most important question we ask them is describe an activity in your high school career that involved leadership and what you learned from that. And so today I'm going to ask Macy to tell us about that.
Thank you. So I'm Macy, I'm a senior in Norman High, and I'm a part of Tiger Crew. I'm the Treasury Committee Chair. So Tiger Crew is our freshman mentor program. So we're the ones who put on freshman orientation. We give freshmen tours of the whole school so they'll know where all their classes are for the first day of school. We also, once a week, will go to their advisories and check in with them. We'll ask, tell them there's a football game going on, or maybe that there's an assembly happening. And through that club, I kind of developed it, tried to like see where the need was. And last year I saw that a lot of, because it's juniors and seniors in Tiger Crew, that like there was a gap between juniors and seniors. So I kind of started like a big little program to where now we have families. So there's one returning senior with 2 juniors for everyone. And then I also started Cub Crew, which is the freshman version of Tiger Crew, like Tiger and Cub. And so it's basically like a freshman chapter of Tiger Crew. So we'll have bi-weekly meetings where we'll ask like, what they think of our events. So we have like a freshman tailgate, and we were like, do you guys think the food looks good? Do you guys like the games? We'll also, they're going on our field trip that we're going on tomorrow, so they get to kind of bond with Tiger Crew and also make more connections. But yeah, thank you.
Chose her as one of our students of the month, right? So, good, we're glad you're here again. Okay, we have some announcements. Craig, you want to start out?
Thank you for that wild applause. I just sent out, just before, like at 11:45, I sent out a sign-up genius for giving away bikes. We're giving away one at Adams tomorrow, I believe, and then 5 schools next week, and then 1 school on December 5th. So anyway, look for that and sign up. The book fair, we had a book fair last weekend, where I think we raised about $4,500. Saturday was really good, Sunday was a little less. So anyway, it's good. Thanks.
And we are actually going to give Craig a round of applause because Craig and his wife Kim took on a bunch of shifts this past weekend. So please give
What would you like people to do when you go to books?
Yeah, well, it's basically, yeah, we'd like them to get a picture taken and send it to Stephen. So basically, all you do is you have to, they announce the winners, or and you can actually announce the winners, some schools like you do that. But anyway, the kids come up and they get their notes, you hand it to them, you get your picture taken with them. That's it. And go home. It's usually like a 15-minute deal. But you get to see kind of how their assembly goes, and that's pretty impressive, actually, I think. So it's fun. So thanks.
Do you know if Jackson is on our list for December 5th?
No, they're tomorrow. They're the 21st week.
Okay, all right. And I asked that because our book vending machine is installed and we are doing a ribbon cutting December 5th at 8 a.m. Yes, I know it's early. But that is right before their assembly starts, and I would love for as many Rotarians to be there as possible. You are who make this happen, and so I would love for you to see the fruits of your labor, so to speak. But that's 8 a.m. I think there's a message up there, 8 a.m. December 5th at Jackson Elementary. So, sticking with the Rotary readers, those who signed up to read at Jackson and Madison, I know Jackson has been contacted for the most part. If you haven't, please let me know. Madison, I'm not quite sure where that is. So touch base with me if you have questions. Let's see. Our Storypalooza, which is our new fundraiser, is our literature festival. We are having the first club-wide community meeting today, right after this meeting, so 1 o'clock, just gather around the table and we'll go over some things and let you kind of know what's going on. If you are interested, not sure if you want to commit, join us for a little bit, see what you think. We have a lot of things left to decide and do, so your input is going to be really beneficial. I would love to have you join us for that committee meeting today at 1. Make sure I'm covering all this. I do want to let you know some sad news. Sylvia Danner passed away. I learned that just about 15 minutes ago. So those of you who knew Bob, his wife Sylvia passed away. There are no, don't have any information on arrangements at this point. And last announcement I would like to make. I know several weeks ago, I asked you to vote for Wild Care to see if we could win $30,000 in a Land Rover Defender. We made it to the top 2. You might have seen those posts on social media, and I don't normally plug the things that I'm personally involved in, but there is a watch party at O'Connell's. It's free if you want to come hang out at 8 p.m. on Saturday night and figure out when we do, if we won or not, you are more than welcome. So, okay, and we have a very, well, Kristen, you come up here, please. And Dr. Gwen, will you also please come up here?
Kristen. So the Rotary Foundation does so much in the world. And I mentioned this last week. I'm going to just repeat some of the things I said. It's many years it's the #1 foundation in the world for its giving. And part of that has to do with that we give 100% of the money that goes out. And there's numerous ways that you become a Paul Harris Fellow. One is you can contribute enough, and which is a very honorable thing to do, and it helps the foundation in so many ways. But we also become Paul Harris Fellows as a somebody's wanted to honor you. And so we have an anonymous donor that has made you a Paul Harris Fellow for the work that you do at Rotary already. And I said this also last week, you're not just a luncher, you just don't come here, you actually do things. So I want to congratulate you on becoming a Paul Harris Fellow this week. So here you go.
Rotor Act efforts at OU this year, assisted by Holly Pepler. So we really appreciate those 2 ladies for helping us get that club back active again. So, and final recognition of the day is a very special one. Rob Andrew, would you like to come do the honors?
First thing I'm going to do is read a very short poem, and then I'm going to talk briefly about Veterans Day and recognize veterans and their spouses. Some of you will recognize this poem. It's called In Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard among the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. So I read that just to remind us a little bit about where Veterans Day came from, November 11th every year. That is clearly from talking about Flanders Fields, World War I in Belgium. That poem was written by a Canadian military doctor. And it's the Armistice Day, the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, 1918, is when the guns went silent on the Western Front in World War I. And in the United States, we recognized it as Armistice Day to recognize veterans of World War I. Later on, through Congress and through the executive branch, we now recognize November 11th as the day that we recognize all veterans of all wars, living and dead, as opposed to Memorial Day, which is when we recognize those who have fallen for our country. Veterans Day is about all veterans living and passed away. And we just celebrated that. It's quite appropriate to say Happy Veterans Day, and we did that 2 days ago. If there are any devil dogs in here, I would also say happy birthday. It was 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps on Monday. But what I would like to do at this moment is have all of our veterans and military in here or reservists, please stand up and come up here with me if you wouldn't mind doing that. Come on up, veterans. Please. And I have something for you. What I'm going to do here is Rotary, excuse me, I'm recovering from a cold. Rotary actually has a pin. It's a Rotary pin that says Armed Forces Veteran on it. And I think some of you might already have the pin, but I do have enough for everybody here. So I'm going to give each one of you a pin.
Let's give them another round of applause.
The last thing that I want to mention, and I will demand a standing applause for this, is I would like all spouses of military veterans to please stand up. Military spouses, please. Let's give them another round of applause. I will tell you that there is no job tougher than being a military spouse, and they can tell you. So if you have any questions, ask my wife, ask anyone else in here. I'm a veteran as well. So that's all I have. Thank you, Liz.
We also want to acknowledge Michael Story, who is actively deployed in Washington, D.C. Liz went to see him last week, and I know that it's tough to be in those positions. So we are, as a club, interested in, if you have someone actively deployed, if there's any way that this club can help you personally while your family member is deployed, please do reach out. I think, that's part of what is special about our club, is that we do care for each other, and we are a family, and we are supportive of our members. And if there's some way that we can help out during those difficult times, we would always want to know that. So, okay. Thank you again to all of our veterans, active duty military. And I'm going to call Lynn Weber up here to introduce our speaker.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Dave Sabatini. Dave is a David Ross Boyd Professor Emeritus at OU from the School of Civil Engineering and Environmental Studies. He was an inductee into the Higher Education Hall of Fame and a founding director of the OU Water Center. He will share with us his expertise on Lincoln and from one engineer to another, specifically Lincoln, the engineer. Please help me welcome our member in Rotary, Dave Sabatini.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, and hopefully you can see the screen. Lincoln Engineering the Presidency. Why am I talking about this? Well, I'm an engineer myself, so I might be somewhat biased in my interpretation of Lincoln. Growing up, I was a Boy Scout, did the Lincoln Trail, the Lincoln Parade in Springfield, Illinois. Grew up in Illinois. These are some of my merit badges related to Lincoln. So I had an interest in Lincoln early on, but I was age 30 when I started reading Lincoln biographies in earnest. And I've read over 200 books on Lincoln. I taught for 4 years, a 1-hour course at OU on Lincoln Leadership and Innovation to engineering students. And I'm currently writing, or trying to find a publisher for my book, Lincoln Engineering the Presidency. I need to give credit to my writing coach, Andy Rigger, for that clever title. So what profession comes to mind when you think of Abraham Lincoln?
president, lawyer, politician, Civil War, engineer? Nobody mentioned engineer. What is an engineer? That's a good question, isn't it? Well, sometimes when I mention that I'm an engineer, they say, oh, you drive trains. And I worked for railroad for 3 years. And the train engineers I knew didn't go to college, and they made a lot more money than I did. But that's an engineer. Here's another picture of an engineer doing all kinds of calculations. Engineers solving problems you didn't know you have in ways you can't understand. Is that a definition of an engineer? And here's a t-shirt that I was given with that very logo on it. So my children would say, Dad, just tell us what time it is. We don't need to know how to build a watch. So anyway, what is an engineer? A problem solver. That's kind of a general definition, but there are a lot of problem solvers. What makes engineers unique? Engineers use fundamental math and science skills to analyze societal problems, develop innovative and appropriate solutions using available resources, considering applicable constraints. So my goal is to demonstrate how Lincoln evidenced a number of these characteristics himself. Math and science skills, Lincoln very much had those. Analyzing problems, very much. Innovative and appropriate solutions. Available resources and applicable constraints. So with that as a guiding concept, let's march forward. Why Lincoln the engineer? Well, he had a keen interest in latest technologies, and we'll look at that. Always fascinated with the newest mechanical devices, trying to figure out how they work. He handled famous technology patent cases, some of the most famous patent cases in his time. He's the only U.S. president with a patent. And actually, who were they visiting with? And there was a quiz about who was what president was a wrestling champion, and Lincoln was a wrestling champion as well. He promoted technology in the war effort. His generals were too busy to consider these advanced technologies, but Lincoln integrated them into the war effort. He established the national academies and the A&Ms, agricultural mechanical universities, to promote advanced technology for the industries of the day, so the common people like me could go to college. That was Lincoln. So, in what state was Lincoln born? Kentucky. Where did he grow up? No, he grew up in Indiana. And I grew up in Illinois, the land of Lincoln, but Lincoln was 21 before he moved to Illinois. So Kentucky and Indiana. Where did he go to college? He didn't. Where did he go to high school? He didn't. Where did he go to junior high? He didn't. Where did he go to 4th grade? The sum total of his education was, by his own admission, 1 year. He spent 5 different periods of time, 2 to 3 months at a time, summing up to 1 year of formal education. So how could he be an engineer? Well, he read avidly. What books would be common in a pioneer home? The Bible, Aesop's Fables, so history of George Washington, Pilgrim's Progress. These were books Lincoln would walk miles and miles to borrow a book. There were no borrowing libraries at that time that he had access to. He was such an avid reader that his business with William Barry, when he was older and they opened a store, Barry drank the liquor industriously, and Lincoln pursued his studies diligently, and as might be expected, both were soon out of business. So he was an avid reader. He taught himself to survey, 1st grade education. He taught himself trigonometry, Euclidean geometry, so he could get a job surveying, so he could study law. He collected books on the Annuals of Scientific Discovery, 1st grade education. His law partner had one of these, and he said, I'm going to buy the whole set. And so he learned about mechanics, chemistry, geology, and mineralogy from these Annals of Scientific Discovery. He was self-taught. There's over 350 books that have been documented that Lincoln read. He was an avid reader. What were some of Lincoln's early jobs? I've already mentioned surveying. He was a postmaster. And one of the benefits of being a postmaster was the newspapers came through the mail, and he couldn't afford to subscribe to the newspaper. So he read everybody's newspapers before he put them in their mail slots. So he read avidly. He was a flatboat operator. This was the transportation of the day. Rivers, flatboats. And so he learned about fluid mechanics and operating flatboats and getting stuck on mill dams and the like. He was a land surveyor, and I mentioned he was a store clerk and a store owner.
So these are some of the early jobs that he had that he helped him to refine his technical skills. Lincoln and water. So I already mentioned that he was a flatboat operator and a surveyor. Lincoln visited Niagara Falls for the first time. His law partner, William Herndon, asked, "Abe, what do you think of Niagara Falls?" Now, most people, when they go to Niagara Falls, what's their impression? The majesty, the grandeur. Lincoln's response, "Where did all that water come from?" Does that sound like an engineer, Andy, Bob? Does that sound like an engineer? He estimated the watershed of 200,000 to 300,000 square miles would be necessary to generate all that water flowing Niagara Falls. The actual number, 265,000. I mean, he had that analytical mind to be able to interpret. Herndon said it was in this light he viewed every question. He stripped it all down until he could see clear the way between cause and effect. That's what engineers do. They break it down into the simplest measure so they can go from cause to effect and solve societal issues in the process. He said 500,000 tons of water fall with its full weight a distance over 100 feet a minute, thus exerting a force equal to lifting the same weight through the same space in the same time. Now, is that what you think of when you go to Niagara Falls? That's the fundamental equation, amazing grasp of physics and fluid mechanics. This is the fundamental equation that we teach our students. To design hydropower plants, to design pumps to lift water up into storage tanks. P equals Q gamma H. That's what he's saying. Power is equal to flow times density times the height. He understood this fundamental engineering principle innately. And this is how we design hydropower plants. It's this amount of energy that water falls can generate power, and it takes that amount of power to lift that water that same distance at that same velocity. So he had all the fundamental underpinnings and fundamental understandings with his first grade education. I have to admit that if I only had a first grade education, I wouldn't have the grasp that Lincoln has of these things. What areas experienced major technological advances in Lincoln's day? Railroads. We went from river. Why do so many cities locate on rivers? Transportation and water supply. The railroads came in and began to offer, there was horseback, there were rivers, and then the railroads. And then what about agriculturally? Cotton and reapers, and so agriculture and transportation were the two major technological advances of the day, and Lincoln was recognizing the importance of both. So he, in his technology and legal cases, he handled reaper cases, because that was an advancing technology of the day that allowed farm productivity to increase exponentially. Railroads required bridges to cross the Mississippi River to take goods. At that time, the Mississippi River was a major continent of north-south transport of goods. Lincoln recognized the importance of railroads to let east to west transport of goods, helping to populate the western territories. And so the reaper case, reapers were greatly increased farm productivity. Lincoln was naturally intrigued by mechanical aspects, and his law partner said we'd be riding from one city to the next, and Lincoln would see some mechanical device he hadn't seen before out in the field, and he'd stop, and he'd go and he'd